Are you saying that Secretary Hegseth and Rubio are going to be running Venezuela, and will you be sending in U.S. military troops to provide?
Team that's working with the people of Venezuela to make sure that we have Venezuela right. Because for us to just leave, who's going to take over? I mean, there is nobody to take over. You have a vice president who's been appointed by Maduro, and right now she's the vice president, and she's, I guess, the president. She was sworn as president just a little while ago. She had a long conversation with Marco, and she said, we'll do whatever you need. I think she was quite gracious, but she really doesn't have a choice. We're going to have this done right. We're not going to just do this with Maduro, then leave like everybody else, leave and say, let it go to hell. If we just left, it has zero chance of ever coming back. We'll run it properly. We'll run it professionally. We'll have the greatest oil companies in the world go in and invest billions and billions of dollars and take out money, use that money in Venezuela.
Trump's attack on Venezuela will not make the United States and the world safer. Quite the contrary. This brazen violation of international law gives a green light to any country on earth that may wish to attack another nation to seize their resources or change their governments.
You were one of the only people to watch this all play out live. What was Maduro doing when the U.S. forces entered what I assume would be his home? And also, was there any point where the U.S. was considering if Maduro pushed back or resisted killing Maduro?
It could have happened. It could have happened. He was trying to get into a safe place. The safe place is all steel. And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast. They went through the opposition so fast, and there was a lot of opposition. People were wondering, do we get them by surprise? Sort of surprised, but they were waiting for something. It was a lot of opposition. There was a lot of gunfire. You saw some of it today. But he was trying to get to a safe place, which wasn't safe because we would have had the door blown up in about 47 seconds, they say on average, regardless of how thick the steel was. It was a very thick door. It was a very heavy door, but he was unable to get to that door. He made it to the door. He was unable to.
Only two countries in history have ever dared to attack the United States, and both paid the price. The first was Japan. Back in 1941, Japan's power was rising fast, and America responded by cutting off its oil. That pushed Japan to make a bold move: the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor. Just 4 years later, America struck back with 2 atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, forcing Japan's total surrender. The second time was in 1967. A U.S. ship, the USS Liberty, was patrolling international waters near the Sinai Peninsula when it was suddenly attacked. Dozens of sailors died, and over 100 were wounded. The country behind it? Israel, which later called it a tragic mistake. Washington accepted the apology, and both nations moved on.
This morning, the criminal Trump regime confirmed that American Special Forces has kidnapped Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife and flown them out of the country to an undisclosed location. But before MAGA starts celebrating too loudly, remember that Trump just pardoned America's most prolific captured drug smuggler, the former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando. But this isn't about protecting us from drugs, as Venezuela is responsible for less than 1% of fentanyl coming to the U.S. 3 facts important to know. Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in the world. The largest oil producer in Africa is Nigeria. And the largest rare earth mineral deposits are in Greenland.
We need Greenland for national protection. They have a very small population.
Are you picking up what I'm laying down? Trump's very likely illegal actions in Venezuela are not about making America safer. It's about enriching American
The U.S. military has attacked Venezuela, kidnapped its president, Nicolas Maduro, and flown him and his wife out of the country. Here are 4 things you need to know. Number 1, this is an act of war. Under the U.S. Constitution, only Congress can declare war, not the president. Number 2, this was never about drugs. Since September, at least 115 civilians have been killed in Trump's boat strikes in the Caribbean and Pacific. Yet Trump recently pardoned Juan Orlando Hernandez, the former president of Honduras, who was convicted in court of trafficking hundreds of tons of cocaine into the United States. Number 3, this was never about democracy. Yes, Maduro is a dictator, but Trump embraced other dictators, praising Vladimir Putin, exchanging love letters with Kim Jong-un, and even hosting Saudi Arabia's crown prince after U.S. intelligence said he approved the murder of a Washington Post journalist. Here in Brazil, Trump even pressured courts to protect former President Bolsonaro after a January 6th-style insurrection. But Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves, and Trump has openly said he wants
Good job, good job.
Donald Trump has once again shown his contempt for the Constitution and the rule of law. Let's be clear. The President of the United States does not have the right to unilaterally take this country into war, even against a corrupt and brutal dictator like Maduro. The United States does not have the right, as Trump stated this morning, to run Venezuela. Congress must immediately pass a war powers resolution to end this illegal military operation and reassert its constitutional responsibilities. Trump's attack on Venezuela will not make the United States and the world safer. Quite the contrary. This brazen violation of international law gives a green light to any country on earth that may wish to attack another nation to seize their resources or change their governments. This is the horrific.
We arrived at Maduro's compound at 1:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 2:01 a.m. Caracas local time, and the apprehension force descended into Maduro's compound and moved with speed, precision, and discipline towards their objective, and isolated the area to ensure the safety and security of the ground force while apprehending the indicted persons. On arrival into the target area, the helicopters came under fire, and they replied with that fire with overwhelming force in self-defense. One of our aircraft was hit but remained flyable, and as the President said earlier today, all of our aircraft came home, and that aircraft remained flyable during the rest of the mission. Maduro and his wife, both indicted, gave up and were taken into custody by the Department of Justice, assisted by our incredible U.S. military with professionalism and precision, with no loss of U.S. life.
We move on now to the escalating tensions between the U.S. and Venezuela, and new reports tonight that a CIA drone strike was behind an attack on a port facility inside Venezuela. President Trump sharing few details about the operation, but it comes as the U.S. military carried out another deadly strike on an alleged drug boat in the